There comes a time in life when protecting your peace matters more than pleasing others. After 70, you've earned the right to keep certain things private, things that aren't just personal but essential to your well-being. In this video, we're going to talk about 9 things you should never share with anyone, not to be secretive, but to stay safe, independent, and at peace. These aren't opinions. These are lessons, most of them learned the hard way, about protecting your health, your money, your privacy, and your dignity. Whether you're 70, 80, or just planning ahead, this is the wisdom that keeps your life steady, secure, and yours. Let's get into it. Number 1, your financial details. Have you ever shared your bank balance or investment details with someone you thought you could trust, only to feel uncomfortable afterward? If you're over 70, keeping your financial life private isn't just a preference. It's protection. And I say this not as someone who's paranoid, but as someone who's learned the hard way. Years ago, I made the mistake of mentioning my retirement savings during a casual conversation. It wasn't even intentional. Just one of those moments where you're trying to relate to someone and you let your guard down. I was talking to a distant family member, someone I hadn't seen in years but who suddenly took an interest in my life. The next month, that person was back in touch. Then came the favor requests. First small, then oddly specific. That's when I realized I had given them a mental target. I had put a number in their mind. And whether they meant to or not, they started seeing me as a source, not a relative. That one slip cost me more than money. It cost me peace. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'd say this: after 70, your financial details are sacred. You don't owe them to anyone except the person legally entrusted to help you when you can no longer help yourself. Not your neighbor, not your casual church friend, not even your adult children until the time is truly right. Because here's the truth: once people know what you have, they start to see you differently. Even good people, even well-meaning ones, it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just human nature. But it changes the dynamic. And not always for the better. I've watched this happen in families, too. One sibling knows more about a parent's accounts than the others. Suddenly there's tension, distrust, misunderstandings that fester and turn siblings into strangers. But if you keep those details private, organized, documented, but private, you avoid all of that. I now keep my financial information in a secure file. My attorney knows where it is. So does the person I've legally chosen as my executor. But beyond that, no one has access. Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I'm protecting the peace I've spent a lifetime building. And let me be clear, this isn't about fear. It's about wisdom. When you reach a certain age, you stop trying to impress people. You stop trying to justify your decisions. And you start realizing that your energy, your mental clarity, and your dignity are worth more than any opinion. Sharing financial details might feel harmless in the moment. You might want to be generous. You might want to be open. But ask yourself this: does this person need to know, or do I just want to feel heard? If you want to feel connected, share your stories, share your values, but not your account numbers. And if this resonates with you, if you've had an experience like mine, or if this is opening your eyes a bit, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Glowing Age. We're building a community of people who believe aging can be wise, peaceful, and strong. Here's what I do now when someone brings up money. I smile, I nod, I change the subject. I talk about what matters more: memories, experiences, what I'm learning. And you know what? Most people never notice the difference. And the ones who do, I'm glad they do. Because it shows me who's really here for me and who might be here for something else. Your finances are your foundation, and your foundation isn't up for public discussion. So the next time someone casually asks, "How much did you get from Social Security?" or "What's your retirement plan look like?" just remember, you owe no answers. You've earned your privacy. And keeping it might just be one of the smartest things you do this decade. Number 2, your will or estate plans until finalized. There's a saying I once heard from an old estate lawyer: the will is private until it's public. I didn't fully understand it until I saw what happens when people share too much about their estate plans too soon. Let me take you back a few years. I had a friend, good man, thoughtful. He took the time to plan his estate carefully, had everything drawn up with an attorney, signed, witnessed, and secure. But he made one mistake. He talked about it. Not just to his executor, not just to his spouse. He told his children, then a neighbor. Then, during one of those casual front porch conversations, he shared who was getting what. He meant no harm, he just wanted to be open, to show that he was thinking ahead. But once those words were out, something shifted. His kids started asking questions. One was upset. Another felt overlooked. A third thought he was owed more. Bitterness crept in quietly, then loudly. What should have brought peace instead sparked division. And the sad part? None of them knew the full picture. He'd made changes since that conversation, but the words he'd spoken were already planted. That's why after 70, you should never share the details of your will or estate plans until everything is final. And even then, only with those who truly need to know. It's not about being secretive. It's about being strategic. Your legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's how people remember you while you're still here. And if you speak too soon, if you reveal one part of the plan without the whole context, you create expectations. And expectations can become demands. I've seen it with friends. I've felt it myself. That sudden pressure to justify a decision, to explain why this person gets more or that person gets less. And no matter how carefully you've planned, someone will always feel left out. So here's what I do now. I keep my estate plan private. I work with a professional I trust. I've documented my wishes clearly, legally, and with backups in place. I've named my power of attorney and executor. And I've written a personal letter, not a legal one, explaining my decisions to be opened only when the time comes. That's it, no open discussions, no family conferences, no hinting at inheritances. Because once you say it, you can't unsay it. And if you're tempted to share, ask yourself this: is this for their benefit or my comfort? Am I helping my loved ones by telling them now or risking confusion later? Peace doesn't come from pre-announcing your will. It comes from handling it with quiet, careful dignity. You worked hard for what you've built. And you deserve to leave it behind with clarity, not conflict. So finalize it, document it, and then keep it safe. Because a true gift isn't just what you give, it's how you give it. And the best legacies are the ones delivered in peace, not argument. Number 3, your health diagnoses to everyone. There's a moment in every aging journey when you're handed a diagnosis. Maybe it's arthritis, maybe high blood pressure, maybe something harder. I've had a few myself. I remember sitting in that quiet, sterile room, hearing words I didn't fully understand until the doctor explained them in plain language. Then came the flood of emotion, fear, confusion, and a little embarrassment. What I didn't expect was how quickly I wanted to talk about it. Not for sympathy, not for drama, but just to feel less alone. I told a neighbor, then a friend at church, then a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. And that's where the problems began. Because once you open that door, once you share your health diagnosis with too many people, it no longer belongs to you. It becomes part of the story others tell about you. Now don't get me wrong. You absolutely need support. You should never carry a health burden completely alone. But there's a difference between trusted support and public consumption. After 70, not everyone needs to know your medical history. And more importantly, not everyone deserves to. I've learned to keep my circle small. My doctor knows, my power of attorney knows, one close family member I trust knows, that's it. Because here's what happens when you overshare. Some people start treating you differently, as fragile as lesser. Others offer unsolicited advice you never asked for. And some, sadly, use it as gossip, even if they don't mean harm. Your medical information is your private territory. And it's okay, no, it's wise to protect it. When someone asks, "How's your health these days?" I smile and say, "I'm managing well, thank you." That's all they need. You don't owe anyone your lab results, your medication list, or your doctor's opinion, unless they're helping you directly, or unless you want to tell them for a reason that serves you. There's a strange thing that happens when you speak less. People respect your boundaries more. They see you as a whole person, not a condition. And if this is striking a chord with you, if you've ever shared too much too fast and regretted it, I hope you'll like this video and subscribe to Glowing Age. We're building a space where strength, privacy, and personal power matter more than ever. You've lived through so much. Your health doesn't define you. Your wisdom does, your presence does, so share only what strengthens you. Guard what drains you. And remember, peace is worth protecting, especially when it comes to your body and your story. Number 4, passwords and digital access. Passwords are the keys to your life, especially after 70. They unlock your email, your bank, your medical records, your photos, your history. And too often, we treat them like scraps of paper instead of the gates to our identity. I'll never forget the moment I realized just how vulnerable I was. A friend of mine, sharp guy, about my age, he trusted his nephew with his email password. Said it was easier than typing it in all the time. One day the nephew accessed his email, then his bank account. No foul intentions at first, but eventually curiosity got the better of him. It started with a transfer, then a few purchases, all before my friend realized what had happened. It wasn't even malicious at the beginning. It was just too much trust too soon. That's the trap. We want to believe the best in people, and most people are good. But when it comes to passwords, even good intentions can create bad outcomes. After 70, you should never share your passwords casually, not with friends, not with neighbors, not even with family members, unless they are your legally documented power of attorney or your digital executor. And if someone ever asks, "Can I have your password in case of emergency?" Here's what you say: "I've got it written down in a safe place. If something happens to me, the right person will have access." Because here's the truth: passwords are more than convenience. They are power. They control your digital life. And once someone has one password, it doesn't take much to figure out others. We reuse them, we keep patterns, and people notice. Here's what I do now: I use a secure password manager. My most trusted loved one has access to that master password in my legal documents. I never write passwords on sticky notes or leave them out in the open. I don't email them. I don't text them. And I never give someone full access unless it's been discussed, documented, and agreed upon with full clarity. You might think, what's the harm? I don't have much. But even small accounts can be used to steal your identity or access things you care about. And let's be honest, at this stage in life, we've built up decades of information. One weak link can open all of it. Your online world deserves the same care as your home. You wouldn't hand out a spare key to everyone who knocks. So don't hand out your login info either. Secure it. Store it wisely. Share it only with someone who's legally and ethically ready to protect it, because peace of mind isn't just about health or money. It's about knowing that your identity, your private space, is safe, and that you've kept your digital life just as dignified as the rest of the life you've built. Number 5, private regrets and deep past mistakes. There are stories we carry quietly, some of them heavy, some of them old. And as we age, there's often a tug, a quiet urge to confess, to unburden, to say something we've never said before. I understand that urge. I've felt it myself. But after 70, not every regret needs to be shared. Not every past mistake needs to be spoken aloud. There was a man I knew once. He was in his 80s. Kind, generous, respected in the community. One afternoon over coffee, he opened up about a painful decision he made in his 30s. Something he'd never told his family. Something that shaped him deeply. He said, "I thought telling it would free me, but all it did was put the weight on someone else." That line stuck with me, because some stories once told don't bring relief. They bring confusion or sadness or mistrust, especially if they come late in life, when there's little time to explain, to repair, to rebuild. This isn't about hiding who you are. It's about recognizing the difference between healing and harming. If you're carrying a private regret, a choice you made decades ago that you've reflected on, learned from, grown through, you may not need to share it with your children, or your grandchildren, or your neighbors. Maybe that story belongs with a counselor, or in a private letter, or simply between you and the person you used to be. I've learned that dignity in old age often comes from discretion, from knowing when to speak and when to hold back. Not from shame, but from wisdom. Some things, when shared, can cause more hurt than healing. Not everyone is equipped to carry your past, especially those who only know you as you are now. So ask yourself, who does this help? Is this truth healing, or is it a burden disguised as confession? What do I need to be heard or to be at peace? And if you still feel that story pressing on your heart, find the right space for it. Not social media, not a casual chat. Maybe it's a journal, maybe a therapist, maybe a letter you never send, because sometimes peace doesn't come from speaking out. It comes from forgiving yourself and moving forward with grace. Your life has been full, complex, beautiful, imperfect. Not everything needs to be told to be understood, and not every truth needs a witness to be real. Sometimes the greatest wisdom we pass on is not what we say, but what we choose to carry with quiet strength. You've lived, you've learned, and now you can rest in the peace of knowing some things are just for you. Number 6, political or religious shifts. I've learned over the years that not every opinion I hold needs to be spoken out loud, especially when it comes to politics or religion. When I was younger, I loved a good debate. I'd sit across from someone at a kitchen table and argue my point until I felt I'd won. But as I got older, I began to notice something. No one ever left those conversations feeling better. They left tired, sometimes irritated, occasionally hurt. After 70, we carry a lifetime of experience. That experience can shape how we see the world, who we vote for, what we believe, how we interpret the big questions. And there's nothing wrong with having strong convictions, but there's also wisdom in knowing when to share them and when to keep them to yourself. I once lost a friendship over an offhand political comment. I didn't mean any harm. It was just a sentence over coffee, but it touched a nerve. That friend never quite looked at me the same way again. The older I get, the more I value peace over persuasion. That's not to say you can't talk about your beliefs, but know your audience, know the moment, and above all, know what you hope to achieve by speaking. If you're hoping to feel heard, ask yourself, is this person truly listening? Are they ready for this conversation? Or am I just adding weight to a moment that could have been light? It's tempting to think that silence means weakness, that if we don't speak our truth, we're somehow backing down. But in reality, silence can be strength. It can be a gift you give to those you love, especially when that silence protects the relationship. When someone brings up a topic I know we disagree on, I take a breath. I listen, I nod, and unless it's truly necessary, I let it pass. I've learned that no argument I win at 75 is worth losing the connection I've built over a lifetime. If you've felt this too, if you've watched a gathering go cold because someone pushed too hard on a personal belief, then you know what I mean. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Glowing Age. We're here for those who know that aging gracefully means choosing peace when we can. Your beliefs matter, but so do your relationships. Share when it builds understanding. Hold back when it risks division. Because after 70, your peace is more precious than being right in every conversation. And protecting that peace may be the most powerful stance you can take. Number 7. Detailed medical procedures or limitations. It's natural to want to explain ourselves. To say, here's why I walk slower now. Or, let me tell you about my surgery. Or, this is what's going on with my back. And I get it. I've been there. When you live with chronic pain or physical limitations, the line between honesty and oversharing gets blurry. But here's something I've learned. After 70, you don't owe anyone a medical report. You don't have to describe every test. You don't have to relive every procedure. And you certainly don't need to go into graphic detail every time someone asks, "How are you feeling?" Why? Because too often it doesn't bring connection, it brings discomfort. Sometimes for them, sometimes for you. And if we're not careful, we start defining ourselves by what's wrong, not what's strong. I once had lunch with an old friend. He spent the better part of an hour walking me through his recent hospital stay, down to every IV and incision. I left that lunch not uplifted, but emotionally drained. Not because I didn't care, but because the heaviness stayed with me. That's when I realized something we can share without spilling. You can say, "I'm managing some health stuff, but I'm okay," and leave it at that. You can say, "I'm pacing myself these days, but I'm still grateful." You don't have to lie, but you don't have to open the vault either. People don't need your symptoms, they need your spirit. And when we shift our focus away from what hurts and toward what helps, we actually start feeling a little stronger, a little more hopeful. Not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. This doesn't mean you hide your truth. It means you choose when and how to share it. Your doctor needs the full story. Your caregiver might need the details. But your neighbor at the grocery store, your granddaughter at brunch, they probably don't. Let your body heal quietly. Let your spirit speak loudly. And keep the spotlight on what gives you life, not what takes it away. Number 8, personal grudges or family drama. There's something tempting about venting, especially when you've lived long enough to have a list of people who have hurt you, misunderstood you, or just flat out disappointed you. Believe me, I know the feeling. I've got my own list. Family members who didn't call, friends who pulled away. Old hurts that still sting a little when I think about them. But after 70, I've learned one truth the hard way. Sharing personal grudges or family drama rarely leads to peace. It leads to poison, not just for the person hearing it, but for me too. A few years ago, I made the mistake of telling a younger family member about an old grudge I'd held on to. I thought it would bring us closer, help them understand the family dynamics. Instead, it made them feel caught in the middle, confused, saddened. It changed how they saw someone else in the family, and not in a helpful way. That's when it hit me. Some things I needed to let go of, not pass down, because bitterness doesn't age well. It calcifies, it drains us. And the more we talk about it, the more it takes root. I'm not saying ignore the truth. I'm not saying pretend everything's perfect. But I am saying this, be careful what you carry, and be even more careful what you share. That one phone call that never came, that misunderstanding that never got fixed, that sibling who never said sorry. Maybe it still hurts, maybe it always will a little. But ask yourself, what do I gain by telling this story again? Does it bring healing, or does it reopen a wound? Does it give me peace, or does it pull me back into pain? We get to choose how we spend our final chapters. And I, for one, don't want to spend mine reciting the same sad scripts. When someone asks me about a falling out or a family rift, I just say, we've had our ups and downs like everyone, but I wish them well. It's not fake, it's freedom. You've earned the right to walk light. You don't owe anyone a front row seat to your pain. Forgive when you can. Release what no longer serves you. And choose every day to speak more about what lifts you up than what's weighed you down, because healing is quiet. And peace speaks loudest when we don't keep repeating the story that broke us. Number 9, where you store valuables or emergency cash. There's one conversation I hope you never have to regret. The one where you told someone where you keep your valuables. It could be money tucked away in a dresser, emergency cash under the sink, jewelry in a closet, or documents hidden in a cookie tin at the back of a kitchen cabinet. We all have our places, the secret spots we think are safe. And they can be safe until we tell the wrong person. After 70, sharing where you keep your valuables, even with people you trust, can put your peace, privacy, and safety at risk. I say this from experience. A neighbor of mine, a lovely woman, smart and kind, once mentioned to a relative where she kept a small stash of emergency money. It was meant for travel or in case her debit card failed. Nothing big, but word traveled. And one day, after a family gathering, she noticed the envelope was thinner, then gone. There was no forced entry, no robbery. Just quiet access, quiet betrayal. She never mentioned it again. And I never forgot that story. You might think, my kids would never. And I truly hope that's the case. But it's not always your kids. It's the friend of a friend who overheard. It's the cleaning help you didn't vet. It's the nephew passing through who saw where you looked during a conversation. So here's my advice. Don't tell anyone where your valuables are unless they are legally responsible for managing them in your absence. And even then, write it down. Secure it. Store it in a fireproof box, a safety deposit box, or with your attorney. Want to keep emergency cash on hand? Good idea, but don't broadcast it. Don't say it in front of company. Don't write it on a sticky note by the fridge. And especially don't tell casual acquaintances or neighbors just in case. That kind of access can't be undone. If you must share, do it through a will or trust, through a power of attorney, through proper channels, not passing conversations. You've spent a lifetime building what you have. You deserve to protect it without guilt. There's strength in being prepared. But there's even more strength in being quiet about it. Keep what's valuable where it belongs, and let your peace remain untouched by what others don't need to know. As we grow older, we learn that silence isn't secrecy, it's wisdom. You don't have to share everything to be honest. You don't have to explain yourself to protect your peace. And you certainly don't owe anyone access to your private world unless they've earned your full trust. If even one of these reminders spoke to your spirit, please like this video and subscribe to Glowing Age. We're building a community for people who know that strength comes not just from what we share, but from what we keep to ourselves. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's something you've learned not to share after 70? Your experience might be the story that protects someone else's peace.